We all want to challenge ourselves, so why not go up to 40 and test a young lion like Barrios?
I think Tank might have bit off more than can chew. Come June 26th, he's going to be in there with someone just as dangerous as he is at 2 weight classes higher than what he's used to.
He's undefeated, he's a world champion. But I'm in my prime still. I can move. That's what makes me so great.
I got speed, I got power, I got explosiveness. I have the physical stature to present a lot of problems that he's never faced before.
We took on this task, now it's time for me to back it up. I can guarantee an action-packed fight.
Mario Barrios is going to be the new face of pay-per-view.
Come June 26th, it's going to be something special.
Fisticuffs will be aplenty this Saturday night on Showtime pay-per-view from Atlanta as two-division title holder and quite possibly the biggest rising star in the sport today, Gervonta Davis, takes his talents to 140 pounds, where he will take on unbeaten WBA regular title holder Mario Barrios. Welcome on into live coverage of Showtime pay-per-view's press conference stream ahead of Davis and Barrios. My name is Brian Campbell, alongside my morning combat co-host and brethren Luke Thomas of CBS Sports and Showtime, here to set the stage before we throw it on over to Atlanta. Our colleague Brian Custer will be waiting with both fighters and their teams for the final word, just days out from this fight. But Luke, we want to break down this Showtime pay-per-view main event on Saturday night in sort of the angles, the storylines, what's at stake. Gervonta Davis himself, when he sat down with us in Morning Combat, said this is his dare to be great moment. The big name opponents were tied up at 30, at 35, where he normally operates. How excited are you just from that storyline of seeing what can happen when Tank Davis goes up 2 weight divisions to take on a hungry, unbeaten champion?
Yeah, totally unbeaten in Mario Barrios. I got to tell you, for me, when they had their initial press conference and then they faced off, I said to myself, my God, these guys are... Yes, of course, you know on paper several weight classes apart, but then when you see it, I mean, there's just no mistaking it whatsoever. Barrios, I'm not going to say is unproven, but he is probably unproven against the level of somebody like Gervonta Davis. But Gervonta Davis is going to have to give up a pretty significant, any kind of physical advantage against Barrios, except for maybe one, BC, and this is kind of the X factor. What has been the calling card of Gervonta Davis up to this point? We saw it in his last fight against Leo Santa Cruz. Crippling power, good athleticism, and of course, I do think he's going to be called upon to box a little bit more here because he's giving up so many of these physical attributes for Barrios. But I'm really curious, BC, really curious to see to what extent does the power of Gervonta Davis go up. And remember, it's not just a punching bag up there. He's going to be dishing it out. And we've seen Barrios can thump as well. It's a big test for Tank. And it's one that we didn't necessarily see coming. But now that it's here, I'm really intrigued by it.
It's a really nice surprise to see what's going to happen. 2 fighters in their physical primes at 26, both unbeaten. But like you mentioned, different weight classes, different styles. It's going to be an interesting intersection in the ring. But to look at where Tank Davis is at, 26 years old, this will be his 2nd consecutive pay-per-view main event. On Halloween night of last year, he went in there against 4-division champion Leo Santa Cruz and delivered the knockout of the year, one of the most devastating punches we've seen in recent years to end a major fight. Power is his calling card, but Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, he's entering a stratosphere as, yes, one of these faces of these young guys in and around the lightweight division who has next, but maybe he's got a head start on the Ryan Garcias, the Teofimo Lopez's, the Devin Haney's, because his star seems to cross over beyond boxing. How would you categorize why up to this point?
Well, partly the Floyd Mayweather rub can't hurt, right? I mean, Floyd identified this guy well in advance and said he has serious potential and has told the world about his potential and helped him to become not just a better boxer, although, you know, he wouldn't take anything from his trainers in Baltimore, but I just mean to say, giving him some advice in and out of the ring, that has been big. And to your point, you know, this fight is in Atlanta because he can attract all kinds of different stars from the hip-hop community and beyond in a way that his other contemporaries in his normal weight classes simply cannot. But, BC, you know as well as I do, that adds a lot of pressure as well, a lot of expectation. And when you're going up 2 weight classes and you're the main attraction, you are the A-side in the main event, it is on pay-per-view. You know it's only his 2nd time ever really doing that. You know, all eyes really are on Tank. He seems to be calling down the thunder, and so he seems to be ready for it. But this is one of the situations where if you're not properly dialed in, and Mario Barrios thinks that Tank Davis has bit off more than he can chew, we're going to find out. But to Mario Barrios' point, if you're trying to do what Tank is doing, both as an attraction and as a boxer, and you don't have all your ducks in a row, things can go south very, very quickly. So depending on how he looks here, it might tell us a lot about maybe he is absolutely ready for more, or he has to wait a little bit longer.
You know, I certainly like the quotes, the words that Davis has used to summarize what this move in this fight has meant to him. I mean, we know that in his future, 140-pound super lightweight, the big money division at 147. They may be in his future physically if he can fill out and prove that he can fight there. He wants to find out right now whether he can do that. He's been small in terms of height in every weight class that he's been in, but each time he's risen, his power has risen with him. When we talk about his marketability, I mean, 24-0 with 23 knockouts tend to speak for itself. That's a language that even casual or non-boxing fans can understand, that when you go inside the ring, which is why we call him the Mike Tyson of the lower weight classes without sounding hyperbolic, it brings a level of excitement and action that is guaranteed in a lot of ways and is consistent across the board.
BC and I just pull back the curtain here a little bit. We were actually trying to come up with who was the one guy that took Tank Davis the distance. We had to go back to Wikipedia because we couldn't even remember. Obviously, Gamboa made it a little bit close and went pretty far, but it just shows you when you're dealing with Tank Davis, at least in the way we've known him at 130 and 135, you know, when he lands punches, they don't need to land too many. He can get the job done. I say the Floyd Mayweather rub has helped him. Let's give credit to Tank. He has nuclear power in his hands. That's a big attraction,
and
too.
now let's focus certainly the man who's going to be standing across from him, the man who will give that litmus test in a lot of ways as to whether Tank's power carries or whether his boxing ability, should he have to lean on it, can get him over the top. His name, of course, is Mario Barrios, El Azteca, a native of San Antonio, unbeaten himself up to this point, won the vacant title just a couple of years ago in a very tough fight against Batir Akhmedov, and has looked sensational since doing that. Luke, I think the Showtime All Access pre-fight documentary series has done a great job, not just telling Tank Davis's backstory of coming from very, difficult means in Baltimore, in West Baltimore growing up, but we finally got this close-up of Mario Barrios, too. We've known about his style. It's aggressive. He's got long reach. What have you sort of learned about the full man in terms of checking this stuff out?
You know what? He's an interesting guy, right? Here's a guy who, he likes punk bands, and he wears a punk vest with patches he put together, and he didn't grow up knowing a lot about the Aztec civilization, so he taught himself about it. He knows their names, and he put the tattoos all over his body. He trains with Virgil Hunter, one of the best in the game. He loves to skateboard. Here's a guy who, he owns who he is. He values where he comes from, marches to the beat of his own drum. And I like that you brought up the Akhmedov fight because, listen, has Barrios been in there with the same kind of competition to this point as Gervonta Davis? I don't think you could argue in totality that he has, but through his mentorship, or I should say the mentorship from Virgil Hunter and his own quality work, you know, Akhmedov, this was an Olympian guy, so he was able to have his power carry late, Barrios was. He was able to use his boxing through 12 rounds. Here's a guy who, when he was pressed, the one time he really did have somebody who was a formidable adversary across the ring from him, he shined. So there is a little bit unknown about him. He is a guy who you have to definitely dig into a little bit to get some of those details. But the more you do that homework, the more that light is shown on him, the more he really appreciates it, shines. And I think he's up for a big fight on Saturday night as well.
And if he's shown one thing from that Showtime All Access documentary series that Davis's staff and team has echoed, that he will come to fight. You can expect that Saturday night. We're going to pause for now. Throw it on over to our Showtime colleague, the smooth one himself. They don't call him the smooth one professionally. I might, though. The great Brian Custer back in Atlanta, who will have the fighters ready to speak.
Of course. That would be kind of lost otherwise.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Certainly want to welcome you to Atlanta, the ATL, Hotlanta, the A,
¿Cómo te va?
the place where the players play. It is Fight Week. I'm Brian Custer, the host of Showtime Championship Boxing, and this is the official and final press conference for Davis versus Barrios. This is a pay-per-view fight that you will see on Showtime pay-per-view coming this Saturday. It will be the main event headlining a 4-fight card. And what a card we have. The main event. You've got the 4-time world champion Gervonta Tank Davis taking on the WBA super lightweight champion in Mario El Azteca Barrios. Two explosive young champions chasing greatness. A four-time world champion, moving up a couple of weight classes, seeking a third title in the third different weight division, an unbeaten champion who has knocked out just about every opponent he's faced at 140 pounds. Of course, it will headline this Showtime pay-per-view event coming from the award-winning State Farm Arena, which is home to the red-hot Atlanta Hawks. And it is an event you do not want to miss. It comes your way Saturday, June 26th, from the State Farm Arena here in Atlanta. The Showtime pay-per-view event will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern. That is 6 o'clock Pacific time. Now, for those who want to order the fight, it's simple. All you got to do is go to showtime.com/pay-per-view. You can purchase it, or you can go to really any Showtime supported device, whether it be the app. It's also available through traditional cable outlets as well, satellite pay-per-view providers as well, digital distribution channels, including for the youngsters. You can get it through your PlayStation store, and you can also get it through Sling TV as well. Special note, Davis and Barrios will also be shown through select closed circuit locations and movie theaters across the country. This entire event, as I talk about, 4-fight card. You got former unified champions in the co-main event, taking on one of the rising stars at 154 pounds. You don't want to miss the co-main event. And we also have two other fights featuring some of the top contenders in their weight class. The event is being promoted by Mayweather Promotions, GTD Promotions, and TGB Promotions. Now, tickets are on sale. They're a limited supply. I would suggest you get your tickets now. They are selling very fast. Do not be that guy or that woman who says, I'm going to wait to fight night and will end up standing outside State Farm Arena watching the fight, because they are selling very quickly. And you can get them at Ticketmaster.com. Here's what makes this fight so intriguing. Two champions, but more importantly, this is another fight that Showtime has put on the stable where you have high stakes fight featuring top people, top fighters in their division. You know, Showtime has put an emphasis on high stakes fights, championship fights, unification fights this summer. And this Showtime pay-per-view event fits right into that category. And of course, the man whose job it is to put on these type of fights and make sure that we deliver what the public wants, and that's high stakes fights, is the president and general manager of Showtime Sports, Mr. Steven Espinoza.
Thank you, Brian. You know, if you haven't noticed, Showtime Sports is, in fact, on an unprecedented run of combat sports events. And we're talking about boxing, we're talking MMA. From ShowBox to World Championship Boxing to Bellator MMA, and even a really exciting exhibition that no one saw coming. Showtime continues to deliver the most compelling, the most exciting, the most interesting, and biggest events at every level of combat sports. We're in the middle of a run of 10 events over the last 9 weeks. That's 10 events, 6 boxing, 4 Bellator events. And this one might be the crown jewel of all of them. But this isn't the end. So just looking forward before we talk about Saturday night. Friday night on Showtime, Bellator MMA, the interim heavyweight championship, Tim Johnson, Valentin Moldavsky. Then we have this stacked pay-per-view card on Saturday night. Next Saturday, from Carson, California, Chris Colbert taking on Tugstat Nyambiar in an interim super featherweight fight, and also the premiere of all-access epilogue, which will take you inside fight night and show you everything that you don't see during the telecast. After that, there's a big weekend on the 16th and 17th. Bellator, MMA, Flyweight World Championship, Juliana Velasquez, Denise Kielholtz, and the next night, Saturday, in San Antonio, it is a fight for the first undisputed 4-belt super welterweight championship of the world. That's Jermell Charlo taking on Brian Castano. Then fast forwarding, we've got the 20-year anniversary of ShowBox on July 23rd. And on July 31st, whether you're an MMA fan or not, I urge you to tune into this one. It is truly the biggest fight in Bellator history. It is Patricio Pitbull and AJ McKee for the Featherweight World Championship. And finally, August 14th, this one just announced. It's one of 4 unification fights that have been on the Showtime schedule over the last year. That's from Carson, California, Nonito Donaire, John Riel Casimiro in a 118-pound world title unification. But let's talk about Saturday night. This will be just the 4th boxing show at State Farm Arena, but the 2nd in the last 18 months. Of course, the first one was Tank versus Yuriorkis Gamboa, December 28th, 2019, with a near capacity crowd of over 14,000 people in the arena. Now, Tank has come a long time on Showtime. Just 6 years ago, that's February 2015, 6 years ago, Tank was on the non-televised portion of a ShowBox event. Just 6 years ago. And now here he is, headlining his 2nd pay-per-view, coming off the biggest win of his career. He's making his 10th appearance on Showtime, and probably his most challenging of his career, jumping up 2 weight classes in a quest to become great. In his 24 fights, Tank has never faced an opponent as tall as Mario Barrios or as long a reach as Mario Barrios. But Tank brings some weapons of his own. Of fighters ranked by the ring, there's only 2 fighters in all of boxing with a higher KO percentage. Tank, as his fans know, is finishing his fights with KOs 96% of the time. But across the ring is a challenge like he's never had before. The WBA champion, 26-0, 17 KOs, big, strong, tough Mario Barrios, who, if you've seen the All Access, you know what kind of warrior spirit he brings into this fight. This is a true pick'em fight. You have Tank, who has seemed to be unstoppable up to this point, jumping up 2 weight classes in the biggest challenge of his career. But that's not the only thing on the card. There's plenty of good fights. Erickson Lubin at 23-1, just 25 years of age. He's making his 7th appearance on Showtime. He's the WBC #1 ranked contender. That means he's the mandatory. And most people in his position as the mandatory would be taking an easy fight, waiting for their shot at the title. But that's not Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin is taking on another top 3 or 4 guy in the division, the former unified champ, Jeison Rosario. This is a fight which deserves its own main event. It certainly could have been a main event on Showtime. Jeison Rosario, former unified champion at 154, the consensus top 3 or 4 in the division, coming off a tough loss against the best fighter in the division in the consensus, and that will be a firefight of its own. 2 other high-quality fights on the card as well. I thank our partners, PBC, Mayweather Promotions, and TGB Promotions. This is an outstanding card. We're proud to be here in Atlanta with it. Thank you.
You know, when you have a fight of this magnitude, it requires major promotion. You got to sell not only both fighters, you got to sell the event as well. And coming here to the stage now is the man of a promotional company who's one of the best at doing it. He is the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, Mr. Leonard Ellerby.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. This Saturday night gets no bigger than this. Anytime you're talking about major fights, you think about Gervonta Davis, the most exciting fighter in the entire sport. But it just doesn't start with Gervonta Davis. To open our card this Saturday night is full of talent from top to bottom. In the first televised bout, we have Barrios Akhmedov, who has faced the WBA champion, who will be facing Tank Davis this Saturday night, Mario Barrios. Tough guy. We know he's coming to bring it. He'll be taking on Argenis Mendez, again, a guy who always is in exciting fights, who comes forward, will press the action. That will be a non-stop fight. Then we roll right into Carlos Adames, another exciting Dominican who's a top 154-pound contender. He'll be taking on, when I tell you this guy right here, Alexis Salazar, again, he's on a 15-fight win streak. Again, tough Mexican, come forward. That's going to be a very exciting fight. Then we roll right into the co-main event, which I'm really excited about this fight. We have Erickson Lubin, who's trained by none other than one of the top trainers in the entire sport, Kevin Cunningham. A guy, he's on a five win streak. Can't say enough about him. What I've been really impressed about him is that his commitment to just excellence when it comes to facing top contenders. Here's a guy that's been very determined. You see it every time that, there's highlights of him being shown. He's in the gym. He doesn't take any time off, and that's been under the great guidance of Kevin Cunningham. He's taken on the former unified champion, Jeison Rosario. Again, I just spoke with his promoter, Samson Lukowitz. He's had a tremendous camp, and he refuses to be denied this come Saturday night because he's determined to get everything back that he just recently lost. Then we rolled right into the granddaddy of them all, Tank Davis taking on Mario Barrios. When you think of Tank Davis, there's one word to describe him, and that's exciting. Whether it be from my daughters, who's 12 years old, all the girls on her basketball team, you ask them, who's their favorite fighter? Tank Davis. Whether it be my barber, guy I've been going to for 25 years, middle-aged, black gentleman, same thing, Tank Davis. Whether it be Marlene Jackson, who's a high school teacher that I just recently met from Louisiana, same thing, Tank Davis. And whether it be Tony, who's 92 years old, good friend of mine in Las Vegas, who's your favorite fighter? Tank Davis. They all have one thing in common. And when it comes to pay-per-view, people want nothing but excitement, and that's what Tank Davis delivers. But again, he has a tough opponent that he's facing this Saturday night in Mario Barrios. Can't say enough about the young man. Tremendous fighter. He does everything well. Excellent puncher, great speed, and he's led by none other than a very good friend of mine, Virgil Hunter, a no-nonsense guy. He guided Andre Ward his entire career, and we know what kind of career Andre Ward has had. And again, we know Virgil Hunter is going to have him prepared. And again, the whole goal is that, myself, Floyd, and Al, we have major plans for Tank Davis. Will Barrios fuck up our plans this Saturday night? Tune in, Showtime pay-per-view this Saturday.
That's how you sell it. I like it. And he's right. I mean, you talk about that main event. You got two young guys, again, chasing greatness. You got one young man who wants the third world title, third different weight division. You got another young man who's looking to put his stamp at 140 pounds and without question looking to elevate his status to superstardom. That's the main event. The co-main, as he talks about, I mean, you got a former unified champion, Jeison Rosario, known as the biggest puncher at 154, taking on probably one of the most explosive fighters at 154 in the Hammer, Erickson Lubin. You also have Carlos Adames, Alexis Salazar, a super welterweight who want to, make their mark as well in this weight division. And then we'll start it off with Batir Akhmedov taking on Argenis Mendez. With that, we're going to talk with some of the fighters, everybody. And let's start with the first fight that you'll see on Showtime pay-per-view. If Batir Akhmedov could come to the stage, as well as Argenis Mendez. We'll have a word with both of these guys and get this started. Please. Have a seat. We'll start with Batir. 8-1, 7 knockouts. He's taking on Argenis Mendez. 25, 6-3. 12 knockouts, former super featherweight champion of the world. And Batir, we'll start with you because you faced Mario Barrios. Without question, you would love to have a rematch, but you got to get through this guy first. Talk to me about what should we expect when you take on Argenis Mendez.
Батыр, начнем с тебя. Ты дрался с Марио Барриосом. Несомненно, ты хочешь реванша, но у тебя впереди серьезный бой. Что ожидать от тебя в этом бою?
Всех приветствую. Да, я безусловно хочу реванша, но пока я не смотрю за своего соперника. Мендес, он очень опытный боксер, бывший чемпион мира. И я надеюсь, что в этом бою я одержу победу, и уже в следующих боях мы будем стремиться к титулу.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. And I'm not looking behind Argenis Mendez. He's a world champion. He's a former world champion. He's a very credible fighter. So I'm only looking forward for this fight. And after that, we can talk about rematch. Thank you.
What kind of challenge, Batir, does Mendez pose for you?
В чем вызов с Мендесом? Что он представляет? Опасность в чем?
Он очень тоже зрелищный боксер, очень опытный. Я никогда не ищу для себя легких путей, выбирая из самых сложных самого лучшего. И нам предложили, и мы согласились на Мендеса, так как он считаю его очень серьезным соперником.
First of all, his experience. He's very experienced, and out of a few options that we had, I choose the best option, the toughest, the strongest guy to fight, to face, because I believe that what he brings in the ring, he's also very excited. He's coming forward, so it's promising for a good fight, for an exciting, action-packed fight.
Argenis, you look at your last couple of fights, man, they've been like split decision, some draws, obviously come on the other end of a couple of losses that you felt like you should have won. Tell us, why will Saturday be different?
Bueno, Argenis, has pasado por algunas peleas duras recientemente, decisiones divididas, empates, derrotas que quizás sentiste que debían ser victorias. ¿Por qué crees que este sábado va a ser distinto?
Muy buenas tardes para todos. Va a ser distinto porque tengo una preparación mejor, tengo un oponente excelente, fuerte, viene para adelante, pelea como me gusta y nosotros vamos a pelear.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here. And I believe that this area is going to be different because my opponent likes to come forward. He's an aggressive fighter, and that's exactly how I like to fight.
In your workout, you said, my opponent is tailor-made for me. What does that mean?
¿Qué quieres decir cuando decís que mi rival está hecho a mi medida?
Me refiero porque es un peleador fuerte y él va a pelear conmigo, no como las otras peleas que he tenido en el pasado, se me han ido a correr. Él va a pelear conmigo y vamos a dar una pelea muy emocionante. Claro, yo voy a salir victorioso, pero va a ser una pelea muy interesante.
Well, I meant that he's a very strong fighter that's gonna provide us with a really good fight, and he just fits what I want to do on the ring. That's really the long and the short of it, where he fits what I want to do.
And tell us why then Saturday you'll be victorious as opposed to what we've seen in the past.
Bueno, entonces decinos por qué el sábado vas a estar con el brazo alzado a diferencia de lo que pasó en el pasado.
Porque tengo una gran oportunidad, soy un guerrero, siempre vengo de lo más difícil y he estado aquí. También quiero la oportunidad, porque es muy grande, para luego pelear por el título mundial.
Well, because this is a big opportunity that I plan to take advantage of. I'm a warrior, and I plan to come out victorious on Saturday and then go after the title that I want to get.
Jerry, we'll wrap it up with this. He says your style is tailor-made for him. You tell us why you feel like you'll be victorious on Saturday, and if you are victorious, what would you want next?
Закончим на таким вопросом. Он говорит, что ты создан для него по стилю, твой стиль ему идеально подходит для того, чтобы он победил. Почему ты будешь победителем в эту субботу, как ты считаешь?
Потому что я очень усердно тренируюсь, очень тяжело работаю и всегда показываю яркие бои. Я делаю все для победы. И его стиль мне подходит очень. Он любит подраться тоже, то, что мне надо. И я думаю, что мы покажем отличный бой и победу. Я сделаю все возможное для победы.
Well, as he says, I think that he's tailor-made for me also. His style, he likes to fight, he likes to rumble. I like it, so it's promising to be a great fight. And me being victorious, I'm just going to do everything possible, everything I can, and God willing, I'm going to win. But most definitely, you're going to look for a good fight.
Fantastic. That's going to be the first fight you'll see. And gentlemen, if we would, let's have a face-off with the first fight that you'll see on Showtime pay-per-view come Saturday night. Second fight you'll see on Showtime pay-per-view comes Saturday night from State Farm Arena. Super welterweights, 10 rounds. Carlos Adames, Alexis Salazar. Carlos Adames, 19-1. 15 knockouts. Alexis Salazar, 23-3. He's got 9 KOs. Carlos, we'll start with you. I know you want another shot at the world title, but at your workout, you said Alexis is not on your level. Tell us what you meant by that.
Bueno, Carlos, sabemos que querés tener otra oportunidad por el título mundial, pero durante tu entrenamiento de ayer dijiste que Alexis no está a tu nivel. ¿Qué quisiste decir con eso?
Buenas tardes para todos, gracias por venir. Es un honor estar aquí con todos ustedes. Ayer lo dije porque yo sé que el muchacho es un muchacho con mucho talento, está subiendo nuevo. Yo he experimentado bastante experiencia, tengo bastante experiencia. Tengo bastante fundamento arriba del ring, sé cómo trabajar con él y lo voy a llevar a mi terreno y ya ganarle.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming. Good afternoon. And I said that because Salazar, he's a very talented fighter. However, I have more experience, and that experience is going to play a factor in this fight. Besides, I have every one of the fundamentals needed to bring him into the way I want to fight, and then I'm going to come out with my hand raised in the end.
Lexus, your response to that? I mean, you're riding a 15-fight winning streak. Your thoughts on what Carlos has to say?
Primero que nada, pues buenas tardes. Pues yo me siento bien, estoy muy preparado. Esto para mí, como dije ayer, para mí es un sueño hecho realidad. Yo estaba esperando esa oportunidad ahora sí desde que empecé a pelear, ¿no? Y pues honestamente me dicen que está fuerte y todo. O sea, pues para mí, yo creo que como el fin de semana pasado, Charlo contra Montiel, o sea, no todo es fuerza, o sea, todo es cuestión de estrategia, de saberte mover dentro del ring. Y yo creo que pues va a ser una buena pelea. Yo vengo listo para una guerra y salir victorioso.
Good afternoon, everyone. And regardless of what my opponent might say, it's not all about strength. It's about strategy as well. Just look at what happened with Charlo Montiel last week. When you fight smart, then you can do a lot of things. So I'll be ready to fight, and I look forward to what promises to be a great bout on Saturday night.
Lastly, Carlos, tell the people, what should they expect Saturday night when you get in the ring with Alexis?
Carlos, decirle a la gente lo que deberían esperar este sábado por la noche cuando ingreses al ring con Alexis.
Bueno, primeramente conmigo no se viene a experimentar nada. Conmigo yo no soy ninguna máquina de experimento. Conmigo es pan y el vino. Así que si él vino a pelear y sabe que vino a ganar, va a tener que pelear para ganar. Porque conmigo no se experimenta nada. Conmigo se viene a pelear.
Well, you know, with me, there is no room for experimenting. If he's coming to fight, he's really going to have to come to fight. So expect a great fight on Saturday night, and I'm going to be more than ready.
Alexis, final word. What should we expect?
Vamos a darle, hermano. Es una guerra.
Con todo.
He's like, okay, yeah, let's go after it. It's going to be a war.
There you have it, folks. That will be the second fight you'll see of the night. Let's have you guys face off here. One man on a 15-fight winning streak, the other one looking for another shot at the world title.
So he's in the back, guys, in the back, please. Over here. You want down here, guys? Thank you.
Now we come to the co-main feature of the night. And what a fight we have here. We've got the former unified super welterweight champion taking on the Hammer, Erickson Lubin. If we can get both of these guys to come up. Fellas, I think a number of people think this could be the fight of the night between you two. Hey, look, Hammer, I'll start with you because I think Jeison dropped the gauntlet where he said this is going to be a great fight and I'm knocking him out. When you heard that, what was your thoughts, especially going into this fight?
I thought it was a joke. I thought I thought he was just saying stuff. He may think he gonna go in there and try to knock me out or whatever. But it's boxing. I got skills like no other, and I'm just gonna show it on Saturday. I'd rather not do no talking. You know, that's just talk. When you go in there in the ring, when the bell go ding, it's time to show all that shit you was talking.
Jeison, listen. He heard that you said you planned to knock him out. He says it's just talk. Now you got to get in the ring with him. What should the Hammer expect when he faces you in your power?
Bueno, Jeison, aquí Erickson escuchó lo que tuviste que decir antes sobre que le vas a noquear y él dice que es puro bla 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 y que la verdad que él se va a definir todo en el ring. ¿Vos qué opinás al respecto? ¿Qué esperás este sábado?
Bueno, realmente yo estoy preparado primeramente para ganar por cualquier vía. Tengo el poder en las manos para terminar la pelea en un primer asalto como en un 12 y estoy preparado físicamente y mentalmente para durar los 12 asaltos dando, recibiendo y tirando caña.
I'm absolutely ready to do whatever it takes to win. I possess the power in my hands to end the fight both in the first round and in the 12th round. And I'm ready both physically and mentally to endure the 12 rounds if needed to come out victorious in the end.
Hammer, he's talked a lot about his power, and I think it seems like he's leaning on that. Do you think he's relying maybe too much on that? We saw how that played out in the Charlo fight. Do you think he's relying too much on what he has in that right hand?
Maybe a little bit. I think he thinks it's just going there and possess his power, but I got power too. I got power in both hands and I got the skill, so he's gonna have to worry about more than just power with me.
Jeison, he says when it comes to fighting him, you have to rely more than just power. What's your response to that?
Bueno, acá tu rival dice que para ganar vas a necesitar más que poder. ¿Cuál es tu respuesta a eso?
Bueno, realmente estamos preparados, realmente no vamos a gastar energía ahora hablando de que quién es más fuerte, de que quién es mejor. Realmente el sábado creo que sí, ese día se va a definir quién es mejor y quién es más fuerte, quién es más rápido. O sea, ese día se va a definir quién va por el título del mundo.
To tell you the truth, I really could care less what we say right now. This Saturday night, we're gonna see who's faster, who's stronger, who has the will to win. That's the bottom line. The rest is pure talk.
Lastly, we'll wrap it up with this. Hammer, why don't you let the people know what should they expect when you get in the ring with Jeison Rosario?
They can expect fireworks. It's gonna be fireworks on Saturday. Everybody buy the pay-per-view, buy your tickets. It's Hammer time on Showtime.
Jeison, same with you. Tell the people what should they expect when you get in the ring with Erickson Lubin.
Decirle a la gente lo que puede esperar cuando entres al ring contra Lubin este sábado por la noche.
Bueno, realmente yo sé que Lubin viene preparado. Yo vengo listo para la guerra. Yo sé que va a ser una guerra. Me encanta la guerra. Soy guerrero y ahí vamos a guerrear. Eso es lo que yo espero. Guerra, que la gente se sienta bien, que la gente se sienta contenta, se sienta feliz y vea una pelea de verdad.
People can expect a war. I'm a warrior and I love to be inside the ring fighting that war. I want people to be happy. I want people to enjoy this fight. That's the most important thing to me. I know Lubin is going to come prepared, so am I, and it's going to be an absolutely great show.
Fantastic. Guys, let's face off. This is the co-main event. Erickson Lubin and Banana, Jeison Rosario. And now we've come to the main event. Saturday night, Showtime pay-per-view. You've got the WBA champion, 26-0, 17 knockouts. He is El Azteca Mario Barrios. Taking on four-time world champ, 95% knockout percentage, 24-0, 23 knockouts, 15 straight knockouts. He is Gervonta Tank Davis. Well, fellas, it's fight week, and it's finally here. Mario, I'll start with you. When you look at Saturday, what tools do you have that gives you your biggest confidence going into this fight on Saturday?
All of them. I mean, I'm just as good of a fighter, just as explosive, just as fast, and I mean, I have the size, you know, to present a lot of difficulties to Tank, and that's exactly what I plan on doing.
Tank, same question to you.
What?
In your toolbox, what gives you your biggest confidence going into this fight on Saturday?
We just gotta wait and see. I really don't know right now, but I've been working each and every day in the gym just to become a better fighter that Saturday night, and I just can't wait to see what, you know, the performance I put on. You know, and moving up to 140 is definitely a great opportunity. So I'm all for it. I'm looking for it, and I'm ready to get the fans what they want to see, and that's a great fight.
You know, watching some of the all-access stuff and getting to see the behind the scenes from some of you guys, which was great. And it seems like all throughout this fight and the build up to it, been a lot of niceties between you two. Both have commended one another. And then all of a sudden you see this video that pops up in the camp of Mario, and one of his coaches says, "We're gonna bust him to the white meat." And any brother knows when you say that to a brother on the street, you know what that means, right? So when you heard that, did this fight and the attitude of this fight change for you?
I mean, it is what it is. He said what he said, so, you know, come fight night, we'll see. We'll see.
What went through your mind when you heard that, though?
I mean, if anybody know me like personally, like been around me, they know like I'm really like, it's hard to say, but Saturday night you'll see it.
So that one got you going then?
Yeah.
Okay. Mario, when your coach said that, did you think, oh boy? Or did you say, okay, yeah, that's right, we are gonna bust him to the white meat on Saturday night? What did you think when your coach made that statement?
He's an Oakland OG. You know, he has his way of talking. You know, that's just his. You know, him in the gym. You know, just hyping everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm responsible for everything I say. I'm always true to my word, and you know, the only thing I'm gonna say is, man, come Saturday, it's gonna be a very exciting fight.
I thought it was interesting too. You know, one of the things you said, Mario, was that because of y'all styles, you don't see this fight going the distance. Tell us why.
Every time both of us are in the ring, man, both of us are with bad intentions. You know, both of us are in there, you know, to hurt and take out our opponent, whether it's round 1 or round 12. And that's why I said that.
Tank, same for you.
You know I'm coming. Yeah, I already know. So, I mean, I'm just excited to be in this position. You know, I'm soaking it all in. I'm young. I'm happy to be here. You know, we'll see Saturday night. It's gonna be a great night of boxing. You know, the fans win. You know, it's gonna be an exciting fight on my end. You know, if I hurt them or anything, we know that I'm gonna get them out of there. You know, so. You know, we just got to see Saturday night. Saturday night going to be a great, explosive night for the sport of boxing.
Mario, you know, he's had some pay-per-view fights already. seems very confident. What does Tank Davis not know that I guess he's going to find out on Saturday?
Just what it's like, to be in there with a type of fighter that I am.
Tank, is this the fight where I always hear your corner say, we still haven't seen the best of Gervonta yet? Is this the type of fight that brings out the best of Gervonta Davis?
I think so, because, when I fight bigger guys, I always, like, in the gym, I always, show up for them big guys, because I hate when people think that, I'm small, so they try to take advantage of me. So this definitely probably one of them fights that, be one of them ones that you see the best of Gervonta Davis.
Mario, we'll end it with this. Let the people know, hey, look, we got fight day here on Saturday. A number of people want to buy it. Purchase tickets, come see it. What should they expect when you step into the ring with Tank Davis, a guy who seems to be knocking out everybody he faces and has not lost, just like yourself? What should they expect on Saturday night?
Buy y'all tickets, order the pay-per-view. I know he's coming ready. We had a great camp in the Bay Area, and we're both coming with it come Saturday.
Tank, same for you. For these people coming to Atlanta, you've been here before. We were here just maybe 2 years ago. What should they expect, man, when you get into the ring with Mario Barrios, another man who is not lost yet?
Just a action-packed fight. Something that's good for the sport of boxing. Not just this fight. We got a tremendous undercard. And I'm looking forward to, actually seeing Erickson Lubin fight. We came up in the amateurs together, so I'm definitely excited for this big event come Saturday night, and we're gonna end it out with a bang come the main event.
And you know what? I've asked you this before, but it begs repeating. You're victorious. Should we, in the boxing public, be saying Tank Davis, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world?
I mean, that's all the opinion. I always think that I would be pound for pound, myself, but, that's just opinion. If I'm victorious, when I'm victorious, I should be up there.
Mario, same question. You defeat Tank Davis, and if you stop him, we be saying pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world.
I should be, but they like Leonard Ellerby said, they have big plans for him, and I fully intend, on fucking up those plans, come Saturday.
Folks, it is the main event on Showtime pay-per-view. Gentlemen, let's have a face-off here. Unbeaten, Gervonta Davis taking on the champion, Mario Barrios, June 26th, Showtime pay-per-view. Get your tickets from Ticketmaster.com. You can order the fight as well through all the Showtime devices, the app. Go to Showtime.com/pay-per-view. You don't want to miss this one. Two young men chasing greatness. Somebody's O has to go Saturday night.
He said gonna fuck up Ellerby in them plans. Okay.
Push this back. Y'all got me working for real now. Y'all really got me working. Is that good? Yes.
As you can see on the stage there in Atlanta, the 8 participants who will make up Saturday's pay-per-view portion of the card on Showtime pay-per-view, and of course headlined by Gervonta Davis, Mario Barrios, 2 26-year-old fighters in their physical primes, going to test themselves. We, of course, our Morning Combat. I'm Brian Campbell. Luke Thomas resetting back in the Morning Combat studio here in Jersey City. Luke, what we saw on the stage in Atlanta, I wouldn't say fireworks, but also little testing of where we're at as it pertains to the main event. You saw Gervonta Davis speak about those words that Mario Barrios' let's say, cut man had said about beating him down to the white meat. Is this just talk here? Does this seem a more motivated Gervonta Davis, who's already going to go in there and go for the knockout, but is, to be honest, is largely unflappable, doesn't get into a lot of trash talk wars?
Yeah, I mean, I actually took away from watching the All Access, and I was looking at some of the photos that Showtime's Esther Lynn had put together, as well as what they were wearing on stage. They had the same, different colors, but they had the same shoes, and in the photos, there's actually one of Tank complimenting the style of Mario to his face. And I bring this all up to say, like, they're both kind of quiet in that way. That was a nice little, I'm going to F up his plans at the end there kind of a thing. But they're just not built for the McGregor grandiosity, say that kind of stuff, trash talk. But the good news is, as we pointed out, because of Tank's ambition and weight class movement, the power that he brings, and Mario Barrios, I'll say this for him, man, he doesn't look phased at all. He looks like he is an absolute believer in his opportunity and chances and what it all might mean for his win. So to your point, not fireworks, but I did get the sense that these guys really feel like, hey, we don't do our talking in the stage, we do our talking in the ring. That's kind of cliche. But then there's sometimes you can pick up on a vibe that they really mean that. These two really mean that.
Yeah, and they're both very comfortable, it seems, on this stage, which is the pay-per-view level. Tank Davis, obviously fresh off his own pay-per-view headlining debut just last October against Leo Santa Cruz, and you saw the show he brought. To stay with this idea of Tank's mindset, and we saw that play out in the press conference just now, Tank gets comparisons to Floyd Mayweather because of their connection, and maybe Tank's the next big draw in the Mayweather promotions and larger PBC stable, so to speak. But obviously they're different fighters. Tank's calling card is the power. He doesn't do his talking with his mouth, as much as he does in the ring, different from Floyd. But if there's a connection that they two share, and you're seeing this already from Gervonta, it's just a comfortability in the spotlight with the pressure, maybe not getting caught up in the trash talk as much, but just sort of like, yeah, I've been here before. This is another test. I expect it to be a war. But it's that unflappability, because if we're honest, at 26 years old, Gervonta Davis has had some legitimate ups and downs and growing pains outside the ring with the law. Sure. That has never really spilled over into the ring. Maybe his performance against Francisco Fonseca in the Mayweather-McGregor co-main event, which was supposed to be a big spotlight, was a little bit flat before he got the late stoppage. Outside of that, Luke, every time it's time to perform, 24 fights, 23 knockouts, I've told the story. There's a very unflappable nature to the makeup of Gervonta Davis.
I think his talent and the people around him pushed him to a level of professional expectation that maybe he wasn't ready for, because not only did he not necessarily shine in that Fonseca fight, missing weight, losing his title on the scales, not his best moment, and obviously he's had some trouble with the law outside of the ring. But to your point about this particular moment, he does seem to realize, okay, I've done this before, not the 140 part, but like the main event part, the media part, the cameras on you part, the things you have to say part, all the little bells and whistles that come with these kinds of moments. He does seem to have settled into it, which is kind of funny because Mario Barrios, this is this level of the game. This is all very new, but because he is so quietly confident, I feel like maybe he's feeling it internally, but he's not necessarily showing it externally for us. And he's kind of able to sort of smoothly navigate those waters as well. And as I mentioned, a little bit of Salt Bay at the end there. I'm going to F up those plans. That was a nice little way to leave the press conference.
And that better be your intention.
You heard the crowd, right?
Absolutely. You better be your intention against a puncher like Gervonta Davis, although he's going to have to prove, of course, that it carries up to 140.
Did you take anything away from it?
Look, yeah, Barrios was calm and cool, and I think that was an impressive showing. And this can be a little bit of a poker match. Maybe some people put value on what you can get out of a press conference. I tend to believe there is something to get, whether it's a debate or a face-off type setup. We didn't see jawing back and forth, but to the point, Barrios is cool, calm, and ready. I feel like we're going to see the best of him. The Davis camp, and they said so on the All Access documentary, feel like at the very least, we believe that this guy's a warrior, that he's going to be there ready to fight for 12 rounds. He's had 10-plus camps with a Hall of Fame trainer in Virgil Hunter, like we talked about, who's taking the natural instinct of Barrios to be a seek and destroyer, to be a brawler, and trying to let him use some of those strengths, which in this case is going to be the height and reach. Luke, as it pertains to the much smaller Gervonta Davis in terms of when they touch gloves, if you're Barrios, are you looking to live and die by that jab to own the space between them? Or is he just a fighter at heart and it's going to be what it's going to be?
I think it's a couple of things. If you look at the way, if you ask yourself, how does Gervonta Davis navigate distance? Right? If you look at the tape on him, it's pretty clear. There's sort of two major ways he does it. One is that he just barrels and pressures into guys with his power. More than that, he has nice setups. He has good feints. He has good fakes. He has good angles and combinations. But it's a press forward kind of option. The other one is he does a little bit of pressing and then setting traps at an angle, backing up to shorten that distance, right? Because if you can't get in on your jab, and I would say Davis has a good jab, but it's not his calling card punch. It's not really his calling card setup for the most part. So what he has to do is he has to get people to walk into his range by various ways of setting that up. He did that really effectively a few times in his career. He's gotten some stoppages along the way. So that's the challenge. But you're asking about Barrios here. I actually think it's really funny. If you just decide you're going to do the Tyson Fury game plan from the first Wilder fight, stick and move and then just wait the clock out and hope that does the job, I think you're going to end up on the canvas like Tyson Fury, except you're not going to be able to get up. Obviously, Tyson Fury is pretty special in that regard. You got to kind of take it to a guy like Tank Davis. And here's what I mean. Do you want to be mindful of the distance? Yes, but you need to be distance setting on your terms, not on his. You cannot let him decide, oh, I'm going to come into me. Now I want Tank Davis to come into me. This is what I've been looking for. That could be a problem, I think. The other part is you need to make Tank Davis respect your power. Dude, you're the bigger guy. You're the one who is cutting down to make 140. You are the guy who is, by the way, the champion in this weight class. You need to be the one that puts a little heat on him, because if Tank Davis just feels like you're going to stick a jab in his face, he has excellent slipping. He has excellent body shots.
Should have the speed advantage.
Speed advantage. You have to hurt Tank Davis to make him second guess. That is Mario Barrios' that is his modus operandi here.
And along with Barrios' WBA regular title at 140 pounds, I'd like the idea for Tank Davis that this could be a pound-for-pound cementing fight for him if he can get the victory and prove his talent level and greatness in a third division. And let's be honest here, when Tank Davis last October blew away 4-division champion Leo Santa Cruz in their 130-pound title bout and did it with that ease after Santa Cruz had some success, got inside on him, but when it was go time in round 6, and you can see the destructive highlights right there, that uppercut from Davis was something otherworldly. I put him at the tail end of my top 10 pound for pound, just my personal vote at CBSSports.com. I think a lot of the boxing media today said, okay, maybe this is the take notice graduation moment. We wanted to see Tank against tougher competition. Leo represented that. But Luke, now he's going up 2 weight divisions against an unbeaten champion. To me, this is the very definition of pound for pound. Now, a pound for pound list is subjective. It's designed to allow us to compare fighters of different weights who would never fight. But yet, look at what Canelo Alvarez, who personally gets my vote today as your pound for pound best in the sport. A big reason why he's getting those votes is because he's done it across middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight, 3 divisions, depending on what's the biggest opportunity for him. If this is Tank Davis in 3 consecutive fights at 135, back down to 130, and then up to 140, and he looks the same across the board, getting these dominant victories, that's the very definition of pound for pound great to me, because you can go to any weight class against anybody and you're still the same fighter.
And probably my guess is this is not the last weight class that Tank Davis is going to dare to be great in. He probably will go to 147 eventually. I will say, though, and I know you're not making this argument, but I can imagine people hearing the argument you just made and taking a bad faith interpretation of it. We're not saying that Tank Davis is on par with what Canelo is doing. What you're saying is what I think you're saying, right, BC, is the blueprint of I'm going to do well in my weight class and then the one up and then the one up, however long that may go. That's the definition, not so much occupying a weight class, standing a post like a sentinel, and then having them come to you. Because I think you would agree the kinds of opponents that a guy like Canelo was fighting, the very, very best. I'm not saying Barrios isn't. We just haven't seen him prove like a Callum Smith or a BJ Saunders in that kind of a way. My understanding is you're talking about the blueprint.
Right. I'm not saying Tank is going to have a shot at unseating Canelo as number one. I'm saying if you don't have him in your top 10 potentially, if he gets a victory here and if he does it by knockout, that's going to be a different conversation at the end of the day. Luke, this is a 4-fight pay-per-view main card on Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on Showtime pay-per-view, showtime.com/PPV. You can purchase it also on the Showtime Sports or Showtime app as well. The co-main event, Luke. I love it. Junior middleweight, super welterweight, 154, whatever you want to say. We know the biggest players operate under this PBC banner. We know Jermell Charlo has 3 of the 4 world titles at the moment. July 17th on Showtime. He'll try to add the 4th when he faces Brian Castano for an undisputed championship bout. But right below those champions, you got your Jarrett Hurds, J. Rock Williams, Erickson Lara was there. He just moved up to 160. How about this matchup to see maybe who's next in line for a title when Erickson Lubin, who has bounced back beautifully from his 1 defeat, goes in there against another guy right in his prime, hungry as heck, Jeison Banana Rosario. Only for Rosario, his 1 loss was much more recent. Last September in that pay-per-view loss to Jermell Charlo by body shot knockout. You saw and heard Rosario through a translator, Banana. He says it doesn't matter what we say here. It matters what happens in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to turn that L around, and he knows the only way to get back to that same level is to beat somebody this highly ranked in Lubin. Do you think Rosario is going to go for broke and use that power that has become his calling card and try to seize what he lost in one night?
No doubt about it. And by the way, if there was no language barrier, I think you would have seen a lot more fireworks between those two at the presser, because it seemed to me, maybe you disagree, I thought Lubin had a real chip on his shoulder. I think he's had a chip on his shoulder, frankly, since that loss to Charlo that he's trying to recover from all this time later. You know, to me, the way I size this up, BC, I wonder if you agree. The case of Rosario, he's trying to come off that loss. That was, I don't want to take anything away from the Charlos, but, if you say you were a 2-belt champion and then you lost to a jab to the body, we know that boxing, that can be a super powerful punch, and I think that it was. But you're only as good as your last fight. And if your last fight you lost with a body shot KO, there's a real pressure to kind of erase that, get the bad taste out of your mouth. And the way in which he got the title to begin with, was he necessarily outboxing in totality J-Rock? I don't know that you could make that argument, but he can crowd people. And to your point, he's got big power. I think you're going to see that because Lubin, of the two, I would argue, BC, see if you agree, slicker boxer of the two.
Very true.
But the guy who's got real physical tools. And honestly, he was kind of playing with house money after he won those titles. He was never supposed to be in that Charlo fight to begin with. That was all some kind of accident. But now he's here in this space. These are his peers. He's looking to remind everyone, this is why I surprised everyone to begin with. You just shouldn't be surprised anymore.
Jeison Rosario had upset Julian J. Rock Williams, who had upset Jared Swift Hurd. This division has been ripe of late with big-time live dogs, so to speak, who've come to win. Now, Erickson Lubin, you mentioned the chip on his shoulder. I always think for him, Luke, it came from the beginning. Here was a guy who was a top amateur who seemed to have an inside track on going to the Olympics, decided at the last minute he was going to turn pro. He's 18, 19 years old, was originally promoted by Mike Tyson, of all people, in the beginning. He has chipped away going the back route, so to speak. And he's built his name up. He bounced back beautifully from that first-round knockout loss to Charlo. We're seeing the mixture of boxer and puncher. But let's not forget, he's been tested in his last 2 bouts. Went the distance to beat Nathaniel Gallimore, who's a credible, tough out at 154, and then went in there against Terrell Gaucher in a back-and-forth fight. Mm-hmm. Got hurt, delivered some hurt. I wonder if it's always in Erickson Lubin's best interest to get into a war. We know he can finish a guy, but he can be vulnerable just the same.
No doubt about it. I mean, here's the thing about this. Both guys have serious weapons, right? But they've both got, I would call, known vulnerabilities. They have known vulnerabilities. And so the question is, who is the guy who can craft not just the game plan, but the physical execution? Who is going to impose their will such that those vulnerabilities don't appear for themselves, and of course, for the other ones? But when you have 2 guys who are dangerous but also vulnerable, that's the kind of fight where you got to make sure you're not blinking. Take your breaks elsewhere if you got to. This is the one, obviously the main event, you don't want to walk away for that either, but I'm just saying, this co-main, in particular because I think Erickson Lubin still has that chip on his shoulder, and then because both guys have some known vulnerabilities. And by the way, I know that 154 is kind of the Jermell Charlo show, But, you know, I think these guys are trying to remind everyone it's not just that show. There are other acts here to be remembered by. A big win on a Tank Davis co-main event is a fast track to getting another big fight in this division, of course, but also to let folks know that maybe you deserve another chance against the Charlo brothers.
Some old school matchmaking there from PBC and TGB Promotions, putting two hungry title contenders with a lot to gain and a lot to lose in this spot. We love seeing that. Julian J. Rock Williams was supposed to be on this pay-per-view main card. Had an injury, pulled out of his fight. 154-pound tested veteran Carlos Adames is going to slide into there. We'll be seeing him on Saturday night. And also in that opener, Batir Akhmedov, who pushed Mario Barrios in that vacant title fight very far. If you remember that fight just 2 years ago, when Barrios took home a close decision to win the vacant title. But let's remember, Akhmedov, who was only in his 9th pro fight, got dropped early, came back and won a bunch of rounds and really was in that fight, but then got dropped in the 12th round. That seemed to be the difference on the scorecards. He's back against Argenis Mendes, who is a veteran, been through the wars, former world champion, has now settled in his 30s to a very cagey role where he's going to be a tough out to get out of there. You're not going to blow him away. Akhmedov seems very hungry, and you saw that in the words there to remind everybody the pedigree, the Olympic background. He's from Uzbekistan, but you can see that Eastern European style right there. He's a very seasoned pro, despite not having a long pro career.
And I want to point out something you mentioned. Of course, he's losing to Barrios in a very, very close fight. In fact, a lot of people had, if you look at the scores from that fight, a lot of people had Akhmedov winning up until maybe just that 12th round. So understand the place that he's in. Now, you're on the main card, and you have a very credible opponent as a challenger. That's the good news. The bad news is the guy you got that close to beating is at the main event with all the attention and the belt on the line. Obviously, he's the champion there, but the dollars, all the trimmings and the blessings that come with main event space. He is, I'm not saying he'd be there were it not, I don't know that Davis would have selected him, but it just sort of goes to show how your career can bifurcate on a win and a loss. And then to do that, BC, in the 12th round, to be that close to victory, to have it almost sealed up and then taken from you, it must have left a terrible taste in his mouth. So he is looking to not merely remind folks of who he was in that fight, but to pick up past the point that he had achieved through the 11th round in the initial Barrios fight.
Yeah, no question. He's still a player at 140 pounds. He wants to prove that. And on the flip side, for Mario Barrios, who's, of course, in this pay-per-view main event on Saturday night, that showed, Luke, that he can hang into a close fight in the championship rounds, can deliver a big moment late to secure a victory. It could be interesting, obviously, in this main event against Gervonta Davis, who's moving up 2 weight divisions from his last bout, if Gervonta Davis's power does not blow Mario Barrios away on the same level that it has his other 24 opponents getting 23 stoppages.
And real quickly, the second time he knocked, the second time Barrios knocked Akhmedov down, it wasn't a huge knockdown per se. He just went to his gloves to catch his balance. Of course, that counts by the rules. I'm just pointing out, what if Davis's power, to your point, doesn't blow him away? You've seen Barrios not necessarily have the same kind of crippling power, but in the 12th round, if all we have to do to win a bout is to get you to get the gloves to touch at the bottom, he can keep a fight close, and then he can seal the deal late against a tough kind of guy. That means he had focus, BC, discipline, and obviously he had an intent to win the entire time in that fight. Never, ever let his foot off the gas to the best of his abilities, and it worked.
We're going to have a lot more breakdown from the X's and O's of this fight ahead of Saturday night's card. Of course, we are the co-hosts of Morning Combat on Showtime Digital. YouTube.com/Morning Combat is our channel home every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, including tomorrow, this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can catch us on YouTube, breaking down the biggest news in mixed martial arts, boxing, whatever combat sport is going on at the moment, celebrity crossovers, whatever's happening. We break it down, biggest interviews in the game, and also after the fights on Saturday night, hitting you up with that instant analysis. In addition to us coming back tomorrow, Luke, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, you can come back to Showtime Sports YouTube channel, to the social media channels, and catch the live weigh-in stream for Gervonta Davis and Mario Barrios. We're going to see what Gervonta weighs in at, what his body looks like. We'll see them face off one more time, hear them get interviewed, get all fired up once again. Luke and I will be on that call, 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Saturday night's Showtime pay-per-view main event, the main card, 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. We are signing off for today, but as we mentioned, a lot more coverage until fight night. For Luke Thomas, my name is Brian Campbell. It's big-time boxing this Saturday from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta as Gervonta Davis looks for a title in a third weight class against Mario Barrios. Do not miss it. thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you later this week.
We all want to challenge ourselves, so why not go up to 40 and test a young lion like Barrios?
I think Tank might have bit off more than can chew. Come June 26th, he's going to be in there with someone just as dangerous as he is at 2 weight classes higher than what he's used to.
He's undefeated, he's a world champion. But I'm in my prime still. I can move. That's what makes me so great.
I got speed, I got power, I got explosiveness. I have the physical stature to present a lot of problems that he's never faced before.
We took on this task, now it's time for me to back it up. I can guarantee an action-packed fight.
Mario Barrios is going to be the new face of pay-per-view.
Come June 26th, it's going to be something special.